So if you've been looking at the compact SUV segment, it's a large chance you've been checking out a Ford Escape. My car has been in the shop being fixed for cosmetic damage. I've been living with this Ford Escape for about a month now. I'm gonna go over some of the features, what's under the hood, the interior, as well as the styling, and tell you if I was in the market for a compact SUV, would I buy this over things like the Toyota RAV4? Let's get into it. So before we get into anything like the styling, let's go over the thing that's going to get most people, especially in today's economy, down to the dealership to even look at something like a Toyota RAV4 or a Ford Escape, and that's the price. I had a Toyota RAV4 LE, so it's going to be perfectly comparable to this Ford Escape Active, and I got mine for $30,000. When we're coming to pricing, a lot of this is going to be region based, but here where I am in the South, these Ford Escapes discount heavy. Right now, down the street from me, there is a Ford Escape base model, this exact color, this exact trim, that's going for $6,000 under MSRP. Compared to my RAV4, depending on which trim you get, it's going to be anywhere from 30 upwards to 50 grand. In my area, I can get a hybrid Ford Escape, even a plug-in hybrid Ford Escape, for less than the second trim of a Toyota RAV4. So when we talk about the price category, I'm gonna have to give the Ford Escape the edge. Now, price isn't everything. We do want quality, we do want value, but if price is my biggest factor when I'm buying a vehicle, it would be foolish not to consider the Ford Escape. After you've checked out prices, the next thing you're probably going to want to consider is how the vehicle looks. Do you think it's an attractive looking vehicle? That doesn't matter to everyone, but to a lot of people, it is a big deal. So let's go over the exterior styling. If I'm being completely honest, I'm not a huge fan of the exterior styling of this vehicle. I see what they were doing with the rounded off shape, but it just doesn't do it for me. I do like that it comes stock with some good old Michelin tires. I do love that we get our 17-inch alloy wheels. Compared to your RAV4, they're gonna come with 17-inch Steelies with hubcaps. So Toyota cheaped out a little bit on that. Now we come to the front end design. I think this is where it looks its best. Once again, not my favorite. Looks a little grandma-ish in my opinion. No offense to the grandmas out there, but it looks decent and I think that's where it looks its best. Pretty sleek and elegant headlight design. We have our fake vents. These are not functional or real there. In comparison to the RAV4, the ride height is gonna be a little bit shorter as well. I'm 6'2" and I see pretty clearly over the top of the vehicle, so it sits pretty low. I personally like the more rugged look of the Toyota RAV4 a lot better. It has a more aggressive and rugged SUV look compared to this. So for that, on exterior styling, I'm gonna have to give it to the Toyota RAV4. Let's go to the interior. I like that when you open the vehicle, you sit down, they give you this cool little screen intro. We got Escape on the dash. Much like the Toyota RAV4, this base model Escape is gonna have a lot of physical buttons. The only thing that they went electric on that I thought was a little bit dumb was the drive mode selector. If you press this drive mode selector, you have to then go up to the screen to choose which drive mode you want to drive in. This is a base model, so we're going to have our premium cloth seats. For reference, this is a forward-facing car seat. If you want to see that, that passenger seat is set for me to sit comfortably. So is this driving seat. I can sit in the back of here pretty comfortably. I have 41 inches of legroom in the back, as well as 41 inches of legroom in the front. Compared to the Toyota RAV4, it's going to have about 38.8 inches in the back and the rear in terms of legroom. Go to our door. Pretty much all of this is plastic, but you have a little bit of soft touch material here. Little bit of soft touch material here as well. Very similar to the RAV4 in terms of utility. I just like the overall look of the RAV4 interior better. So for that reason, for the interior, I'm gonna actually give the Ford Escape the slight edge and give it a point, just simply because of all of the leg room in here. This is a very spacious compact SUV. Now let's talk about the cargo area. And this is where the RAV4 is going to take the cake over the Ford Escape. I don't remember the numbers, so I'm going to post the Ford Escape cargo numbers here, and then the RAV4 cargo space numbers here. So if you are a family man or woman who's going to have to be carrying around car seats and strollers and wagons, that is something to consider. So I'm going to give the cargo area a 1-up for the RAV4. Even though on the base model Ford Escape, we do get the automatic rear trunk. All right, so let's talk about the driving experience in both the Ford Escape that I'm driving as well as the Toyota RAV4. So if you're looking for a zippier, quicker, more of a fun ride, then I would definitely go with this Ford Escape. The pedal in here is actually very responsive. The brakes are extremely touchy in here as well, and that's something that I personally don't like. I want to also note that even though this little 3-cylinder engine is extremely loud when you open your hood, and it sounds horrible, when you're in the car, when you don't hear much of that at all. Like, they actually did an extremely good job of keeping a lot of that wind noise and engine noise out of the cabin when you're driving on the highway at high speeds or even through the city. Your Toyota RAV4, the driving experience is a lot different. So the pedal in your RAV4 isn't going to be quite as responsive. There's almost like a delay from when you mash on the gas to get up and go and when the car actually starts to respond. With that being said, your braking is going to be a lot more consistent and smooth versus these really touchy brakes in the Ford Escape. And in terms of the cabin noise, it is abysmal in the Toyota RAV4. If you like a quiet, comfortable ride, the utilitarian RAV4, it's at least on the base model trim, probably won't be the car for you to get there. So I got to give the Ford Escape a nod in that regard in terms of the overall driving experience, to comfort, to cabin noise, and even to its zippiness and quickness. With that being said, let's talk about what's under the hood of both of these things. Ford Escape's going to have a 1.3 liter 3-cylinder motor in it. Yes, 3-cylinder motor. And that 3-cylinder motor is pushing out 180 horsepower. Now, I know if you're buying one of these vehicles, horsepower and torque are probably the last things you really care about, but I thought it was important to note anyways. And keep in mind, they're only getting 180 horsepower out of this 3-cylinder because it's linked up with a turbocharger. Now your RAV4 is going to be completely different. You're going to have a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that they use in a lot of their vehicles. It's tried and true, it's proven, and it's fuel efficient. And that 1.5 liter 4-cylinder is going to be pushing out 203 horsepower. So although this Ford Escape does feel a little bit quickier and zippier, I honestly feel like that RAV4 has a little bit more of like a punchiness to the driving experience, if that makes sense. So when we're talking about what's underneath the hood, I'm 100% going to have to give the edge to the Toyota RAV4 over the Ford Escape. So last but not least, let's talk about value and which car I would personally buy based on what I'm looking for out of a vehicle. Reliability, we're giving that a point to the RAV. Styling, we're giving that a point for the RAV. Under the hood and the engine, powertrain, we're giving that a point for the RAV. Cargo space, we're giving that a point for the RAV. 4 points for the Toyota RAV4. For interior, we're giving that a point to the Ford Escape. They're both very utilitarian in here, but the Ford Escape has a little bit more space, and they do a better job of keeping out the wind and engine noise from the cabin. 2, we give a point to the Ford Escape because of the driving experience. It's more fun to drive, it's quicker, more responsive. 3, we give a point to the Ford Escape for its overall price. Although they are priced extremely similar in terms of MSRP, but in terms of what the average price paid is and what most people are paying, you can find the Ford Escape for cheaper more times than not. So if you're asking me would I personally buy this Ford Escape over a Toyota RAV4, the answer is if the price was right. If the price is exactly the same for the vehicles I'm looking at, then I would probably go with the RAV. But if the price was right on a Ford Escape, I probably would buy the Ford Escape over the RAV. You have to also keep in mind advice isn't for everyone. Me personally, I usually get rid of my cars after about 6 years. But if you're a person who is going to be keeping your car 10, 15, 20 years, you probably want to go RAV4 over this. But if you do more of the turn and burn style, then the Ford Escape becomes extremely attractive once you factor in all those discounts. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. down in the comments. Are you buying a Ford Escape over a Toyota RAV4? Is that even a crazy mention for you? Just let me know how you feel. It's your boy Eddie, and until next time, I'm out.